Good afternoon, everyone. I will call the meeting to order. It is 1 p.m. Thank you to everyone who is here today. This is a meeting for the Municipal Heritage Committee. And today we don't have any business, but we have a number of items which we need to go through. I would like to start though with an adoption of the agenda. So the resolution is that the agenda be adopted as circulated. May I have a mover? Keith, may I have a seconder? We've got a couple options. We'll go with James. And any questions, comments, changes? If not, I'll call the question. All those in favor? Opposed? Carried unanimously. Thank you. Adoption of the minutes. So the motion is that the minutes of the special municipal heritage meeting of June 22nd be adopted as circulated. May I have a mover, please? Perfect. Seconder? Thanks. Are there any questions, comments, or changes regarding the minutes? James.
Little detail under 8.2. My thanks should be for the council for granting expense monies towards me attending that conference. I didn't really need permission to go. It's a public event.
Okay, perfect. Any other comments or changes? So we'll adopt the motion as amended. I'll call the question. All of those in favor? Opposed? Carried. We have no delegations or presentations for this meeting. So, well, sorry, I missed the declaration of pecuniary interest. Does anyone have a declaration? Okay. And again, that we have no delegations or presentations today. Staff will have a couple of items they will be speaking to, which brings us to item 7. So the declaration of the vacant seat. I don't know if you wanted to mention the nature of the motion as per the procedural bylaw.
Yes, through you, Mr. Chair. So section 24.2 paragraph B states in our procedural bylaw that should any member of a committee fail to attend 3 successive regular or special meetings without being authorized to do so by council or by a resolution of the committee may recommend to council that they declare the committee seat vacant, and council may appoint another member in the member's place. So Deputy Mayor Fody has not attended 3 successive regular or special meetings of the Municipal Heritage Committee for 2023. And this is why I put item 7, declaration of vacant seat, on the agenda. And please note that it is optional for the committee to either vote for or against the recommendation.
Okay, so to start the conversation, we do need to move in seconds. So may I have a mover for the motion? Yeah. Okay. So, okay, perfect. I will open the floor for questions and comments. Keith.
Do we know that Council Cody did not have not attended?
Through you, Mr. Chair, there hasn't been a resolution provided to the committee from council that he wasn't able to attend these meetings. He just hasn't been able to make the meetings. Again, this is why this is on the agenda. So we do need a decision from the committee whether you would like to have Deputy Mayor Fody still on the committee, or if you would like to provide a recommendation to council to declare a seat vacant and have council recommend someone else in his place.
Okay, I've got a 1, 2, and 3. So
this is being brought forward because of a procedural matter.
Yeah.
But as you said, it's up to the committee if you choose to take action on it or not through the resolution. So if the committee is not concerned with the situation, you can leave it status quo. There's no necessity to make a change. It's just procedurally, we're required to bring this forward because that's what the procedural bylaw says. If the committee's not concerned with it, you don't need to follow through.
And my understanding is if we do not wish to proceed, we can just defeat the motion. Okay, so.
Do we know whether Councillor Fody wants to be on the committee, or has he indicated one way or the other, or he has no interest, or he does have interest? Do we know?
Through you, Mr. Chair, I have spoken to Deputy Mayor Fody a few times about this, and he would like to stay on the committee. He's just not able to attend the meetings during this time on Fridays.
Is it possible that Councillor Fody can attend the meetings virtually as Councillor Gorell does?
Through you, Mr. Chair, that is an option, and Deputy Mayor Fody is aware of that as well. That's all I know from my discussions with him.
I have a question following on some of these. So are we correct in understanding that he does want to stay in the committee, but he cannot attend at this time? That is correct. Okay, thank you.
And it's Fridays that he can't do, or this Friday afternoon with the sequence we've got, or?
Yeah, it's through you, Mr. Chair, it's the sequence of meetings that the committee has already established in their terms of reference.
I think this for the committee raises a broader question of would the committee meet at a different time, and does that work for the majority of the committee members? So I will leave that question to the committee to consider.
It's a tough one. This is a great slot.
Did we have a seconder?
For we're in the
We're
discussion.
just chatting now, right?
The discussion at this point.
So do we know if I guess if we were going to change the time of our meetings, we'd need assurance that he could, that we could choose a time that he could attend. So it would take some consultation with him to keep his place on the seat of the committee.
I mean, I can speak for my own personal thing is this is pretty much the time I have as a member.
It's the same is true for me.
Maybe if it works for everybody else, we should take the opportunity to find a member who can attend.
Any other questions, comments? So the motion. Oh, Councillor.
Yes, I was going to suggest in the case where we don't have someone who we thought would be good on this committee immediately, if we had someone in mind, that would be one thing. But in that we perhaps don't, and I'm not making any assumptions there. But if we don't have someone immediately, then perhaps we should give Councillor Fody a chance one more chance to participate electronically, or simply say, you know, I can't make it. Well, if you can't make it, then that's not a good answer. I think at that point, then this committee could act as per the resolution presented. But if we don't actually have someone that we would like to see, on the committee, then I don't think immediate action would be necessary, but certainly at the next meeting, given the choice or given the explanation to Councillor Fody. Thank you.
So this would be my question to yourself. Would one of the options be to defer this motion to our January meeting?
So we can't defer the motion. I do need you to either vote for declaring the seat, or if you decided to defeat the motion, that's great. That way I have something on, like, in the record stating that this was on the agenda, the committee, like, let's say, for example, you decided to defeat the motion, the committee defeated the motion to declare his seat vacant.
Excuse me, why can't we defer that? That's unclear to me.
So, well, I'm just following our procedural bylaw. So at every, like,
Okay,
yeah, so if a committee member does fail to attend 3 successive meetings, this recommendation has to go on the agenda. And again, it's the committee may recommend to council that they declare the committee seat vacant. It's not that they have to, it's optional.
if we defeated this evening or this afternoon, excuse me, this afternoon, can it be brought back in January then as a fresh motion? A motion, yeah.
We could defeat the motion, and then I would just need another motion from a member of the committee to say that we put this on the agenda for the January.
So just that's a workaround rather than the deferral. That's all I'm getting at. If we were comfortable with that, it's a workaround. So just a thought.
Well, no, that's a good thought. The other thing too is we defeat the motion, and then you could even wait, because again, it would have to be 3 meetings from now that this would be brought up again. So if it was to be brought up again, then the same recommendation would go on the agenda as well. So you either make the decision now and then wait down the line. I'm just going by what's in our procedural bylaw. Again, it is an optional decision from the committee.
Then the next question would be, if we were to dismiss the counselor from this committee, can we reappoint him? Or would that be, that would have to go through council, I suppose, would it, to reappoint a person to the committee?
Yes, through you, Mr. Chair. So if the committee were to recommend that you do declare his seat vacant, it would go to council, and then council would have the final decision on whether or not they would declare his seat vacant.
So we have James, Art, and Keith.
Yeah, I kind of like Councillor Grell's suggestion. So, and my understanding is we defeat this motion today. In the meantime, he's going to poll councillors to see whether there's a replacement, because it's a 3-year tenure still. And maybe there's no one on council that can make it anyway. So.
As far as appointing another member, we had a member for 20 years previous who wasn't accepted on the committee as of the new election, as of the last election, and somewhat disappointed at the time. I don't know if he would consider being appointed to the committee at this point or not. And I guess the follow up to that is, does it have to be a council member?
Through you, Mr. Chair. So it would have to be a council member, but I just want to also provide clarification on what Vice Chair mentioned before. Like, if you defeat the motion, if the committee decides to defeat the motion today, there wouldn't be anything going to council. It would just be the motion was defeated, the committee did not declare his seat vacant, and business would proceed as usual.
May I withdraw my motion?
Yep, you're more than welcome to withdraw your motion as well.
That would put an end to this, wouldn't it?
Through years. That. My understanding is that we do have to respond because it is a matter of the procedural bylaw. So yay or nay. Now, if, this is my question, if we defeat the motion today, can we ask for it to come back in January, or do we have to wait another 3 meetings? Because with our schedule, that's almost a year.
Through you, Mr. Chair, it would be best if, because things could change, Deputy Mayor Foti could show up to a meeting in January. He could also show up to the meeting in April. So again, it would be best to make your decision today. And then if it were to reoccur again, it would be brought up at 3 meetings down the line. I hope that makes sense.
Council doesn't have to follow our recommendation on this issue, does it?
Just for clarifications for you, if there's no resolution, there's no report to council, so there's no action on the matter, correct?
Yep. So if, sorry, through Mr. Chair, if, again, if the motion is defeated, it will not go to council. It's recorded in the minutes that this was done. We followed our procedural bylaw. We followed the steps and the decision has been made.
Okay. Through you, Mr. Chair. The whole idea is that we have a committee and the committee has full membership, right? If someone can't make it, then why would we not declare the seat vacant? Because it seems to be that it is, and it shows no sign of being filled potentially for 9 months or more. Isn't that what our responsibility is?
Through you, Mr. Chair, that is your response. Again, this is entirely up to the committee. The committee has to make a decision on this. Today, I'm following our procedural bylaw. This is great discussion that you're having. But again, it's entirely up to the committee what you choose to decide with this recommendation today.
Thank you, through you. I'm just looking at the terms of reference, and it indicates that the membership of the committee may include members of council, so it's not specific to 2 members of council. So just for the committee's consideration.
If I may, I think that's an important consideration. Once again, I say if we thought that there was someone beyond council that would enjoy and be productive on the committee, I would be in favor of that. And it's been pointed out that there was 1 or 2 people had put their names forward. So perhaps they could be solicited again. Thank you.
May I make an amendment to my motion?
I don't think we can amend the motion here, but we can do a second motion if we are going to say, for example, suggest that community members be approached to fill the position. If that's.
Through you, Mr. Chair, it's important to stick to the motion that's already on the agenda. If, let's say, for example, the committee votes for this motion, it would go towards council, and then included in the report would state the terms of reference and what the options that can be presented to filling the vacant seat if council were to make that decision to declare his seat vacant.
I only wish to add the words "with regret."
I defer to you if that is acceptable.
I just think it's important to keep the motion as is. It's plain language, it's straight to the point, and it's exactly what it needs to be recorded in the minutes. I have looked at various other municipalities and how they've handled these motions as well. And this is the language that I've come up with that's very similar to what they've done.
I accept.
Maybe one of the suggestions would be is we include that within the minutes that it is with regret. That be acceptable?
The point I'm trying to make is, I think everyone feels that maybe we should move forward to appoint a new member. It's unfortunate that Councillor Fody can't join us. And I think we want to make it clear that it's not anything personal toward him. It's simply the matter of fact that he's not here.
And I would ask that that be noted in the minutes. Okay, so I will call the question. So the motion is that the Municipal Heritage Committee recommends to council that Deputy Mayor Foley's seat be declared vacant on the MHC. So we have a mover and seconder. I'll call the question. All of those in favor? Opposed? That's carried. Thank you. And thank you for the discussion, and thank you to staff. I know that was a very challenging discussion, so. Business, item 8.1, 2024 budget. And I will ask Ms. Vendetti to speak to the budget.
Just going to share my screen so that Councillor Brown can see what I just handed out. So what I've distributed to the committee is a draft of what sorry, my mic isn't on either. That doesn't help. What I've distributed to the committee and what's on the screen is the draft of the budget that I've put forward for 2024 at this point. We are working on our operating budgets right now. Essentially, I've kept our budget the same as previous years. However, the one change is that I have included $2,000 within the staff and council development line to allow another member of the committee to attend the conference in Gravenhurst this coming year. So if there's any questions, I'd be happy to answer them. I have maintained $2,000 in contracted jobs, which was reallocated this year to the training line in the event that we do need some type of consulting work done with respect to anything that the committee chooses to work on. The heritage grants would remain at $10,000 as it has been previous years in accordance with the policy. At this point this year, I'm not sure how much more is going into the Heritage Reserve Fund, but our reserve fund is looking fairly healthy because we haven't been giving out that many grants recently. So the $10,000 would continue with any unremaining amount going into the reserve fund. So if there's any questions, I'd be happy to answer them.
Through you, could we have specifics on the museum line?
Through you, Mr. Chair, that is $500 that's been included. It's been included previous years as well. It's a carry forward in the event that somebody comes forward with something that the township may want to acquire to go into the museum.
Just clarification through you, Mr. Chairman, the contracted jobs, I guess maybe I didn't quite understand what you explained that was intended for, or do we know what that's?
We don't have anything specific that it's intended for at this point, but if there is any work that comes up that we do need to retain any assistance with, it gives us the opportunity that we have a budget line to allocate to that should we need any consulting assistance. The other question, or the other thing I would note is I have asked a question of the treasurer, given that the Heritage Reserve Fund is at the balance that it's at right now, if there are any other initiatives that come forward through the Heritage Committee that are currently unfunded in the budget, it would also present the opportunity that we could potentially take a report forward to council if there's something that comes up over the year that we need funding for, to ask for some of the funds to be reallocated from the reserve fund to go towards an initiative that the committee chooses to undertake at some point.
What is our balance on the reserve fund?
I don't know that number off the top of my head right now, but I believe it's somewhere near $30,000.
Through you, Mr. Chairman. This is not directly related to the budget, but I know that the recent mail out to all the properties that are on the register, and the mail out indicated that there would be an initial $5,000 grant to any property that was newly added to the designated part, or it was designated under the Ontario Heritage Act. That money is completely separate from anything on this budget. Is that correct? That $5,000, that's a separate.
No,
budget?
through you, Mr. Chair, that $5,000 would come out of the 10,000 that's currently allocated for 2024 and every year in accordance with our Heritage Celebration Grant policy. However, as I said, we have a pretty healthy reserve fund. So should we get a bunch of people coming forward saying we want to designate our property and apply for the $5,000 grant, we do have that money sitting in the reserve fund to fund that initiative.
Do you need any motion or anything from us at this point?
If the committee is happy with this, I can proceed with it. Alternatively, if the committee chooses to put forward a resolution that they're supportive of it as presented, that's fine too. But this is currently what's been presented to our treasurer based on my drafting of the budget.
I think if it's going forward, we don't need a budget if there's no changes or corrections. Thank you. Item 8.2, 2023 Ontario Heritage Conference Summary. We have a report provided.
I don't have a physical report to comment on, but if members of the committee hit that item on the agenda, the PDF file will come up. So double-sided page accounting for what I did at that Heritage Conference.
Are there any questions or comments regarding the report?
Just a question through you, Mr. Chair. If there was one nugget you took away, what was the one nugget?
Lots of work to be done, I guess. And the details of some of the technology involved are fascinating, like drone 3D mapping of buildings in order to create plans for restoration work. Some of the projects in London, Ontario were, very well done. So I would encourage any members that would like to attend the Gravenhurst this next year.
And sorry, follow up through you, Mr. Chair. Was there a recommendation that municipalities start thinking about investing in this sort of thing, or what was the?
I'm sorry, I don't understand.
So there's a lot of technology that can be brought to bear on these types of matters, right? The drones are a great example. Who's funding that?
Well, the couple presentations I saw were actually private companies that were supplying their service in a big project. Okay. Locally, in the States, the end of Carlton Island, there's a big house that hasn't been occupied since 1927, and they're restoring it, and they just had somebody do that kind of activity for them. This is LiDAR, right? That they're using. Pardon me? LiDAR. They're using LiDAR technology. I don't know that word, but essentially there's a drone camera and it plots thousands of points to the point where it develops three-dimensional LiDAR.
Thank you.
Thank you. 8.3, Community Improvement Plan CIP Background Report, and I'll ask staff to comment on that.
Thank you. Through you, this is more of an information item. So the community improvement plan is something that we've been working on since earlier this year. The background report was presented to council over the course of the summer, I believe in August. One of the things in the background report was an appreciation for the amount of heritage in the township and a recognition of the existing heritage celebration grant process that we do have. Going forward, we're looking at having a public meeting in December, I believe, for the draft community improvement plan. The plan will continue, or at this point is recommending to continue proceeding with the heritage celebration grant as we are. But there's going to be other proposed initiatives that go along with the broader community improvement plan. So some facade improvement and other things. So I just wanted to make sure that the committee is aware of that. The background report is posted on the township's website if you'd like to take a look at it. What we did one day is we went out with the consultants. So we toured the township. They took some pictures of various heritage buildings in different locations throughout the township. So there's quite a discussion of heritage involved in that background report. So I just wanted to make sure that the committee is aware of it.
Thank you. Questions for staff? Okay, thank you. Item 8.4, Heritage Working Group, next steps.
Through you. So we had established the Heritage Working Group to look at the register and what we were going to do. At this point, we've sent out the letter, we've sent out the pamphlet, and Lindsay's going to provide an update to that under information items. We were just wondering if there's any next steps, and some of this might also build on the information that Lindsay's going to provide with respect to the response we've received from that. So it was just more of a place marker in terms of we still have that working group and what we're going to do with that going forward, or if we're going to continue with the working group, and that may be yet to be determined until we figure out what it is that we're dealing with. So we just wanted to put that on here as an information item. And just to build on our previous discussion of note, the treasurer just confirmed for me, we have $24,700 in the Heritage Reserve Fund right now, and we haven't awarded any grants this year that I can think of. So there would be another $10,000 added to that balance for the starting of 2024.
Actually, we did award a grant
we
two
did.
previous meetings ago, which would have been in the year still, wouldn't it?
Yes, sorry. So it will be a little less than $10,000.
Any questions to staff or comments on the Heritage Working Group? I would like to come back to that when we have the update on terms of the response to the letter, because I think that's going to help us determine next steps. Okay, information items, staff update, Heritage Register.
Thank you, Mr. Chair, through you. So the Municipal Heritage Properties Register, the consolidated version was approved by council in July. And so following that, staff worked with the communications department and staff to complete some updates to the township website with respect to posting the register on the website. We now have a heritage and culture tab on the website that residents can click to access more information as to the register and the heritage conservation and celebration program. We did send out a letter to all the listed property owners recently. With that, staff did prepare an information pamphlet to accompany that letter. The response so far, we've had 6 property owners of listed properties requesting that their property be removed from the register. Another property owner indicating that they're okay to wait out the 2-year period and have their property fall off automatically per the changes through Bill 23. Another property owner kind of still considering their options as to possibly pursuing Part 4 designation. And just through word of mouth in terms of the letter going out, there's another property owner whose property is not currently on the register, but they put through a written request to have their property considered for Part 4 designation. And I've mentioned the $5,000 grant as being kind of an incentive for them to move forward with that step.
Just to pause there, are there any questions or comments on?
Lindsay, perhaps you could describe to me, are there two township websites? Because sometimes when I attempt a search on LTI Township, it seems to take me somewhere else. And you're referring to a tab, which I've been searching for the register on the township website since July and never found it. So can you tell me how to get there?
Through you, Mr. Chair. So there is one official municipal township website. I think at a previous meeting, we talked about having the register appear through the playing tab. There's 4 tabs at the top of the
Okay,
page when you
so
arrive there. And then once you,
It's under playing.
yeah, and then once you get there, there's a heritage and culture tab.
If I search the word heritage register on the township website, it doesn't get me there. So I would suggest that that be looked into, and that also on our Municipal Heritage Committee page, there be some link that gets us back to this register as well. I will compliment you on the pamphlet. I really like that, if that was your personal project.
Through you, Mr. Chair. Thank you. Updates are still in the process of being made. We're looking at adding some more historical photos to reflect the rural area as well as the settlement areas. And so we'll take those suggestions under advisement and ensure that there's more ease of access for people landing on the page and wanting to access the register quickly. Thank you.
Through you, Mr. Chair. Just a question regarding designations. If any property owners whose property are listed on the register come forward and ask for designation, the municipality picks up the cost of that whole process. Is that correct?
Through you, I think that first of all, we would need the committee to look at it and determine if we want to proceed with something. If at this point, as I've said, I've got limited funds budgeted for consultants. If we're going to pick up the cost for anything, I think that we would be going to council and asking for some funding out of our Heritage Reserve Fund to cover some of the costs associated with that. So we need to understand what the demand might be.
And to your question, Art, I think that's one of the questions about the role of the Heritage Working Group about doing some of that research in support of the designation as well. I think that's part of the intent.
Through you, Mr. Chair, it looks like there's a problem not only with the search, but also with some of the links inside the site. When you click on heritage, it takes you to an error.
Yeah, I'm not finding it.
Yeah, you're correct. I'm having the same challenges. We will follow up on that following the meeting.
I will say I am able to access it through Google, through actually my laptop, but I haven't tried the phone. So it might be an issue with how it's shows on the phone. Okay, Heritage Planners Network.
Through you, Mr. Chair, just a quick update to update the committee that planning staff will be attending the Heritage Planners Network meeting next Thursday in Ottawa. It's a group that communicates through an email list to go over common issues that come up in the heritage planning sector. And it's made up of mainly public sector heritage planners, and staff are looking forward to attending and can report back on anything that jumps out in terms of emerging themes or that sort of thing back to the committee at the next meeting. Thank you.
And any questions? And lastly, the Springfield Escott Complex update.
Through you, I'm just going to message our Director of Operations. He's going to come in and give an update. It's my understanding that there was a meeting this week as well, so I believe you were involved. So Dave's going to come in and give an update based on some of the recent discussions that have been happening.
If I can talk to that, we did have a meeting with the engineer and the architect yesterday, and I was encouraged by how practically they're thinking about the whole situation. And there's possible major development, I guess, major revision in what's proposed. Here he comes. I'll let him do the talking. I was just talking about the meeting yesterday with the engineer and the architect, and I thought there were some positive things, some positive possibilities came out of it. The main one being that we'd take the expense that was to reinforce the second floor and make it a clear span. Instead of doing that, we would take up the first floor and put in columns that would support then a beam on the to reinforce the second floor. My understanding was that that would give us a uniform loading capacity on the bottom floor, rather than having to observe this the pattern that we were given, where we had 5'6" width down the center of the building, where we could put the full weight of our stacks and around the perimeter. So this would, I guess, in the first place, I was surprised that to not see columns and a support beam for the second floor. So this proposal made great sense to me that we would do that. I guess maybe the downside is that we lose the original fabric of the floor. There may have been other major things talked about that I wasn't party to, so I'll let you explain.
Thanks, Art. Yeah, that's a pretty good breakdown of what we looked at inside the facility. By introducing the columns, we're able to, look at the second floor distribution as well. But yeah, in terms of the Heritage Committee here, we're looking at the washrooms, which are currently uninsulated. Given that the size of the washrooms, it doesn't make much sense to try to insulate on the inside of the building. So we'll be looking to we'll be exploring the options for insulation outside of the building, and then some sort of veneer or other surface on the outside of the block wall, which would result in having to come back here for a revised approval, I guess, from the Heritage Committee. While I was meeting with the architect, we were talking about the energy loss through the existing windows, and they're going to explore what options we have, to maintain the existing windows and add an additional layer on the inside, or if it makes sense to replace the windows altogether. So that is something that we're definitely taking a look at. Structurally, for the roof, we're looking at whether we adhere to the loading requirements when we do replace the roof, if there is a need to address that, or if we're good to just replace the fabric on the actual wearing surface on the roof. So that's those are the major items at this point that we're exploring. And we're hoping to move this forward to start the work in 2024.
Any questions?
Dave, has it been assessed or decided that we should have washrooms over there? Or can that facility be delegated to the Springfield Heritage?
Given that this is a public facility, we will be maintaining the washrooms that are in there. Our hope is that we can work with the building department to provide, we want to have accessible washrooms, but you know, we're very limited with the amount of space that we have. So if there's a little bit of give and take on the requirements for space. Currently, there is a men's washroom and a women's washroom. So we're with individual stalls inside that we will never comply with accessibility. So we're looking to make those single stall multi-use washrooms, so open to men, women, and LGBTQ, the full spectrum. That's our hope, is that we can have individual closed off washroom facilities, you know, open for everybody at that facility.
Does that mean 2 washrooms still? Ladies and a men's washroom?
Correct. 2 washrooms.
2 washrooms, yeah, just a single passenger each, but 2 washrooms.
Correct.
Great. Any other questions, comments? If not, thank you to staff for the reports and the updates. This brings us to item 9.2, council update, and I'll ask Councillor Gorell to provide us with an update.
I can't think that there's anything that would be relevant to the committee. The CIP, which was covered earlier, would be, I think, germane to the committee. But other than that, I can't think of anything. Budget time is coming up, so hopefully we can now work something out for Heritage. And I did appreciate the work that Marnie has put into the budget as presented today. Thank you.
Any questions? If not, that brings us to item 9.3, other business.
I thought that I could make you aware of a little project I've done recently for the next Historical Society newsletter. And it's on heritage signs within the township. So I've tried to itemize everything there is, what their location is, what the condition of them is, and I'm in the process of mapping them on a Google map that I would perhaps make available through the Historical Society website. So in that context, there are a couple of these large interpretive signs, specifically in Rockport, that are in very poor condition. So I don't know what the process is for replacing those.
Question: would those be the signs that are montage of photographs? Are those the signage we're referring to?
Yes, those are the ones that are in poor condition. And
Yeah.
I'm in my article, which will be in the next month or two, I'm referring to those as interpretive signs.
Mhm.
And then I'm also including the bronze, large format, blue ones, the green ones, and the murals.
Mhm.
So I thought that would be helpful to all parties.
Yeah, just out of interest, who has been responsible for putting those signs up? Has it been what committee, or has it been the township? Because they're great signs, except I do see that they do suffer from UV sunlight pretty dramatically. Who is responsible for making and placing those?
I think it's quite a variety, and over time as well. There's old townships. Those interpretive sign, photographic interpretive signs, the ones in Rockport all have Rockport Development Group on them. So I don't know whether it was a joint effort between the township and that group. I asked someone else in relation to, there's nothing in Ivy Lee, and I was told, well, the people in Ivy Lee weren't particularly interested. So I don't know whether that's caused enough for there not to be ones there, but a lot of responsibilities shared.
And I know Ms. Vendetti has a couple of comments. as well.
Thank you. I was just going to indicate that that's something we can look into further. I'm not sure because I know that a number of them have been produced through the Heritage Committee.
Yes.
And funded by the township through our operating budgets. So I can double check to see. I'm not certain if those have been included within our asset management plan and whether there's any facilities review of those to look at the condition and the location. So that's something we can look into and report back at the next meeting.
So I can send you a spreadsheet of what I found also.
Sure, that
For
would be great.
reference.
That would be helpful. Thank you.
If I might comment here, when we started making these interpretive signs, they were a different material that seemed to be impervious to the weather. And somewhere along the line, suddenly that material wasn't available anymore. So we've had to take the recommendation of the suppliers and take their second best material because the best one was eliminated from the possibilities. I don't know why. I don't know what the difference is, but I think the lack of durability has become apparent.
Through you, Mr. Chair, actually, it's not even through you, it's just a question. Have we ever thought about, or has anyone ever put geocaches near these signs? Sort of promote people to actually get, especially young people, to get out there and discover these heritage sites and learn more about them and gain interest in the community, all that sort of stuff.
I don't know a great deal about geocaches, except I know where they are. It always seems to me that it's the geocache people that choose the location of the little container with the secret message in it or whatever it is. But
I was just through you, Mr. Chair, I was just going to add that I know that our communications group actually had a geocache placed in the front of the office here. And there's been quite a bit of traffic coming to it. So I think that that's again, something that we can look into a little bit more and maybe bring some more information back to another meeting.
Any other business?
As regard to geocaching, Delta Mill was a site at one time and they elected to let that lapse. They thought it was doing more damage than good. It may have been a factor that was specific to the mill, but the location of it was very close to some deteriorating stonework, and people were digging into the deteriorating stonework.
Any other business? Okay, if not, this brings us to item 10, adjournment. The motion is that the Municipal Heritage Committee adjourn. May I have a mover. James, a seconder. Art. I'll call the question. All of those in favor? Opposed? That is carried unanimously. Thank you, everyone. And thank you for a great meeting.
a question for you about your Facebook posts.